The first thing I noticed was the silence. Not the ordinary comforting silence of a remote corner of Earth, but the kind of silence that presses against your eardrums, thick and expectant. I had been invited, or perhaps summoned, to a gathering on a space station orbiting the planet RSV. The station itself was a cathedral of metal and light, its corridors reflecting a spectrum of colors I had no names for. I had assumed this was a diplomatic mission, a courtesy visit for an Earth representative. I was wrong. They met me in the central atrium, a domed chamber with walls of glimmering crystal. The air shimmered with an energy I couldn't identify, as if the space itself were alive. And there, in the center, surrounded by beings of shapes and sizes I could never have imagined, they asked me a question that would upend my entire life. Which one will you choose as your wife? I blinked, certain I had misheard. Excuse me? I asked. My voice sounded absurdly small in the cavernous room. The beings didn't answer directly. Instead, they gestured toward a group of 6 individuals standing in a semicircle. Each was striking in ways that defied human understanding. One shimmered like liquid silver. Another had skin patterned in swirling colors that shifted like living oil. A third had eyes like twin suns, radiating warmth and light. I opened my mouth to ask what kind of test this was, but I was interrupted by a voice that sounded as if it was inside my head. Choose wisely, human, it said. This is no ordinary selection. Your choice will bind you to the fate of our species. I swallowed hard. I don't even understand what's happening, I stammered. Are you serious? You want me to marry one of you? Not merely marry, the voice clarified. Become one with. Share your essence, your mind, your life. And through you, our future may be secured. I looked at the 6 figures again, trying to see them through some human lens, some earthly context. One of them stepped forward, taller than anyone else, radiating an authority that made my knees weaken. She had hair, or what I assumed were hair-like appendages, cascading in colors I could barely name. Her eyes, dark and deep, locked onto mine. You will know who I am soon enough, she said, her voice now external, resonant, commanding. But first, you must choose. I looked at the group, trying to find some human feature to relate to, some clue. Nothing. Every instinct told me to run, to bolt toward the airlock and vanish into the void. But something held me there. Something in her eyes. A strange pull, like gravity, subtle yet irresistible. I raised a trembling hand and pointed to her. The moment I did, the entire chamber seemed to shiver. A low hum filled the air, vibrating in my chest, in my bones. The others bowed, or perhaps acknowledged, her authority with a gesture I didn't understand. And then the truth hit me, blunt and staggering. You are the queen, I whispered. She tilted her head slightly, a smile curving at the edges of her lips. Yes. The one you have chosen is not merely a participant in this gathering. I am the sovereign of RSV, the mother of our people, the keeper of our future. And now, you have chosen to share your life with me. Panic rose in me. Wait, I didn't know. I thought this was some kind of ritual test, a demonstration. I didn't mean to. You did what was necessary, she interrupted gently, yet firmly. Your choice was guided by more than reason. It was instinct, intuition. Something that transcends your species' limited logic. That is why you were chosen. I staggered back, trying to process it. The implications were enormous. Marriage to a human was one thing. Marriage to an alien queen, the sovereign of an entire civilization, was a commitment I wasn't even prepared to comprehend. You will undergo the binding, she said. It is the process through which your consciousness will be linked. Only then will you understand what it truly means to share a life with me. The next hours, or perhaps days, time had no meaning here, were a blur. I was guided through chambers that twisted and shimmered like liquid mirrors. At each step, I felt my mind opening, my perceptions stretching, reality folding into itself. The binding wasn't just physical. It was mental, emotional, spiritual. Thoughts no longer belonged solely to me. They intertwined with hers. Memories, emotions, instincts, they all flowed together like 2 rivers converging into one. And yet, despite the overwhelming intimacy, there was a calm, a strange serenity. I could feel her thoughts, yes, but not intrusively. They were gentle, patient, guiding me into understanding rather than forcing comprehension. I realized then that she had never been a mere ruler. She had been a guardian, a protector, a mind that had held the future of an entire civilization with care and foresight. "You are not afraid?" she asked, as our consciousnesses hovered on the cusp of complete merging. I wanted to be. Panic still bubbled inside me, but it was tempered by awe. I don't know," I admitted. "This is more than I can comprehend." "Good," she said softly. "Fear is natural. Understanding comes after. And in time, you will see that what you thought was unimaginable is only the beginning of what can be." The binding completed in a heartbeat that stretched into eternity. I could feel every corner of her mind, the tapestry of her people's history, the weight of decisions made and those yet to come. And she could feel me. My fears, my hopes, my curiosity. A dialogue without words. A conversation without sound. It was exhilarating. Terrifying. Liberating. Days passed, though I had no way of measuring them in Earth terms. I learned to navigate her thoughts, and she guided me to understand the intricate web of diplomacy, culture, and science that sustained RSV. I was no longer just a human. I was a partner, a participant in a civilization far older and wiser than mine. And yet, in the midst of all this, there were moments of pure humanity. She laughed, softly, melodiously, when I tried to mimic one of her traditional dances and failed spectacularly. She shared stories of her childhood, of the first time she realized she could influence the very minds around her. And I, in turn, shared memories of Earth, of sunsets and the smell of rain on dry soil, of my mother's voice and my childhood dog Max. It was strange, this merging of worlds. And it was beautiful. One evening as the two of us, or rather the two of us together, watched the twin suns of RSV set, she spoke of a challenge looming on the horizon. "Not all accept the union willingly," she said. "There are factions who see a human's presence as a threat, a contamination of our line. Some wish to rebel, to reclaim what they believe is pure. Others are curious, cautious, or simply indifferent. Our future depends on our ability to navigate these tensions." I nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility settle on my shoulders. "Then we face it together," I said. "Yes," she whispered, though it resonated through my mind as clearly as speech. "Together." The first test came sooner than expected. A group of dissidents had infiltrated the lower levels of the station, intent on sabotaging key systems. We were alerted almost immediately, thanks to our shared consciousness. I felt her thoughts, her instincts, and I acted, moving through corridors in ways my body should not have been capable of. My reactions were enhanced, sharpened by her presence, and together, we neutralized the threat with precision and minimal harm. Afterwards, we stood in the atrium, overlooking the stars, breathing, or feeling, relief. "You were remarkable," she said. "Even as a human, you are formidable. But more than that, you are attuned. You think with your heart as well as your mind. That is rare." I laughed, a sound that startled even me. "I'm still me though, aren't I?" "Yes," she said, pressing her hand to mine. Or perhaps it was our shared consciousness pressing. Impossible to distinguish. "And yet you are more. You are part of something greater, and yet still uniquely yourself. That balance is what makes this union possible." Time flowed differently after that. Weeks became months, or maybe they were centuries in some alien perception. I learned to navigate the complex politics of RSV, to understand its history, its wars, its triumphs. I met her council, her generals, her scientists. All were wary at first, but slowly they began to accept me. Not merely as a human, but as an equal, a partner, the one who had chosen their queen. And then came the most unexpected moment. Affection. Not the shared mental connection, but something deeper, something purely emotional. We began to care for one another, in a way that transcended species, culture, and experience. I realized I loved her, not out of duty, not because of the binding, but because she was herself, brilliant, compassionate, fierce, and endlessly fascinating. One night, I found her alone in the observation deck, staring at the swirling cosmos. I joined her quietly, letting the silence stretch comfortably between us. "I never imagined this," I said. "That I would be here, not just on another planet, but part of your life, part of your world." She turned to me, her eyes reflecting the distant stars. "And I never imagined I would trust a human with everything. My people, my heart, my future. Yet here we are." We stood together, hands entwined, minds interlinked, hearts aligned. The galaxy stretched endlessly around us, full of danger, wonder, and possibilities. And for the first time in my life I felt truly at home. Not on Earth, not on RSV, but in the space between worlds, in the union of two minds, two hearts, one destiny. "I choose you," I whispered, knowing it was both declaration and promise. "And I choose you," she replied, "for eternity and beyond." In that moment, the stars seemed to lean closer, the universe itself acknowledging our bond. I had come to RSV as a visitor, unsure and timid. I remained as a partner, a consort, and, most importantly, a willing participant in the future of a civilization unlike any other. And so the human and the alien queen began their shared journey. Not as master and subject, not as stranger and monarch, but as equals bound by choice, love, and the mysterious gravity of fate. A journey that would take us across the cosmos, through challenges we could not yet imagine, into a story that was only just beginning. Because some choices, no matter how impossible they seem, define not just a moment, but an eternity.